Good day, future educators. Today's lesson is Chapter 3, Cultures and Rationalities. We will engage deeply with theories of culture and rationality to understand how they shape perceptions of gender, sexuality, and social justice. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to discuss how culture or rationality shapes how people perceive reality, state the effects of culture on a person's perception of gender and sexuality, explain how rationalities shape sexism and discrimination. Instinct comprises innate, biologically programmed behaviors like an infant's suckling reflex, universal across humans and rooted in evolution. Culture consists of learned beliefs, values, and norms that societies develop over time. Unlike instinct, culture is socially constructed, dynamically created and transmitted through interaction. While instinct drives primal behaviors, culture shapes how we interpret and structure our world. Clifford Geertz's Symbolic anthropology views culture as webs of significance, systems of meaning humans create to interpret their world. He argued culture isn't just observable behaviors, but the shared understandings that give actions context. His method of thick description examines how societies attach different meanings to identical acts, like how eye contact conveys respect or challenge across cultures. This theory profoundly informs gender and society by showing how gender norms are cultural constructs, not biological imperatives. The meanings attached to masculinity/femininity vary across societies, demonstrating their socially spun nature. Geertz's lens helps deconstruct patriarchal systems by exposing them as mutable cultural scripts rather than fixed realities. Culture offers cognitive shortcuts that enable automatic understanding of social cues. These shared symbols and norms allow us to quickly decode meaning without deliberate analysis, facilitating smooth social interactions. For instance, colors carry culturally specific meanings. White symbolizes bridal purity in Philippine weddings but represents mourning in Chinese funerals. This demonstrates how culture programs our perception. These cultural codes create efficient social navigation systems. When we instantly recognize a white dress at a Filipino wedding, we bypass conscious interpretation because cultural knowledge provides immediate context. This automatic processing shapes everything from gender roles to class distinctions, embedding social norms so deeply they feel instinctive rather than learned. Pierre Bourdieu's concept of habitus refers to the deeply ingrained behaviors, preferences, and dispositions that individuals acquire through socialization. These unconscious patterns are shaped by one's cultural environment and social position, forming a second nature that guides actions without conscious thought. For example, the way Filipinos are conditioned to speak softly, cover their mouths when laughing, or perform the mano gesture to elders reflects how cultural norms become embodied. Habitus both enables and constrains social behavior. While it provides individuals with culturally appropriate ways of acting, it also reinforces existing social hierarchies. The demure femininity expected of Filipinos illustrates how habitus perpetuates gender norms across generations. These automatic behaviors demonstrate how culture becomes physically internalized, making social inequalities feel natural rather than constructed. Antonio Gramsci's theory of cultural hegemony reveals how dominant groups maintain power by shaping societal norms and values. Through institutions like media, education, and religion, they promote ideologies that make social inequalities appear natural and inevitable. This subtle form of control ensures compliance without overt force, as people internalize these beliefs as common sense rather than constructed power relations. The traditional gender norm that men should be providers while women should be obedient exemplifies cultural hegemony. Repeated through sermons, TV shows, and school teachings, this ideology becomes deeply ingrained. Gramsci shows how such common-sense beliefs actually serve to uphold patriarchal structures, making gender inequality seem like a natural order rather than a social construct that can be challenged.
Philippine culture actively shapes gender perceptions through traditional sayings and modern discourse. Proverb men are the house's pillars, women its light reinforces binary roles, men as strong providers, women as passive nurturers. These cultural metaphors naturalize patriarchal structures by embedding them in everyday language and wisdom traditions, making gender inequality appear inherent rather than constructed. Senator Robin Padilla's statement about wives' sexual obligations reflects how cultural hegemony normalizes gender-based violence. By framing marital sex as a husband's right rather than mutual consent, such rhetoric perpetuates rape culture under the guise of tradition. This demonstrates Gramsci's cultural hegemony, where dominant groups, here, patriarchal institutions, maintain power by making spousal coercion seem like natural marital duty rather than systemic oppression needing reform. Culture demonstrates remarkable adaptability when long-standing traditions conflict with human welfare. Historical examples like China's foot binding reveal how practices once considered prestigious can be abandoned when their harm becomes undeniable. This process of cultural change occurs when communities collectively recognize that certain norms, regardless of their historical roots, ultimately undermine human dignity and well-being. The abolition of foot binding illustrates culture's capacity for self-correction in pursuit of more humane social structures. The Philippines' RA 11596 banning child marriage exemplifies contemporary cultural evolution. While women's organizations like Lila Pilipina and Plan International championed this reform as protective of girls' rights, it faced resistance from groups citing traditional practices. This tension highlights the complex process of cultural adaptation, where progressive legal changes must navigate between preserving cultural identity and preventing harm. Such cases demonstrate how cultures can transform to better serve their members' flourishing. Three harmful cultural norms require urgent transformation for gender equality. First, catcalling, often excused as lalaki lang yan, must be recognized as harassment, not flattery. This normalization endangers women and LGBTQ+ individuals in public spaces. Second, the acceptance of marital rape, rooted in the false notion that marriage implies perpetual consent, violates bodily autonomy. Such beliefs, echoed by figures like Senator Padilla, enable spousal abuse under the guise of tradition. Third, victim blaming, asking "what was she wearing?" shifts blame from perpetrators to survivors, perpetuating rape culture. These practices persist because they're embedded in patriarchal systems. Catcalling stems from male entitlement, marital rape from viewing wives as property, and victim blaming from policing women's bodies. Yet culture evolves. Just as foot binding ended when deemed oppressive, these norms can change through education, legal reform, and shifting narratives. The Philippines Safe Spaces Act shows progress, but marital rape remains unaddressed legally.
Achieving gender justice requires collective action. Schools must teach consent and accountability, media must challenge stereotypes, and laws must protect survivors, not abusers. Cultural change is slow but possible. When communities prioritize dignity over tradition, equality becomes the norm, not the exception.
Cultural change is difficult because norms are deeply ingrained in daily life. Bourdieu's habitus and tied to power structures. Gramsci's hegemony. For instance, the SOGI Equality Bill faces resistance from conservative religious groups despite public support, as it challenges dominant moral frameworks. Advocates like Senator Hontiveros push for inclusivity, while opponents fear eroded traditions, showing how cultural shifts spark tension between progress and preservation.
The hashtag #BobbyAKO movement, 2018, led by activists like Jean Enriquez and May Painter, challenged President Duterte's sexist remarks, sparking nationwide conversations on misogyny. Alongside legislative wins like the Safe Spaces Act, RA 11313, which penalizes catcalling and harassment, these efforts reflect growing feminist mobilization. Online platforms have amplified feminist advocacy, with groups like Gabriella Women's Party exposing gender-based violence and inequality. Social media campaigns have democratized discourse, enabling marginalized voices to confront systemic sexism and demand accountability. Despite progress, opposition remains. Religious institutions often frame equality reforms as moral threats, while political leaders' misogynistic rhetoric reinforces sexist norms. Patriarchal family structures also resist women's autonomy, highlighting the need for deeper cultural transformation. Culture is more than heritage, it is a living system of meaning that shapes our world. As future educators, you hold the power to critically examine cultural norms and reshape those that perpetuate oppression into forces for dignity and justice. Goethe's Webs of Significance, Bourdieu's Habitus, and Gramsci's Hegemony reveal why cultural change is challenging, but they also light the path forward. These frameworks equip us to dismantle harmful traditions while preserving cultural identity. Every transformed norm, every inclusive classroom, and every student empowered to question injustice proves that culture evolves. Together, we can weave new webs of meaning, ones that celebrate equality, respect, and the boundless potential of every individual.